When I get people to write their vision out and we start to do it, the first thing that comes up is all the obstacles, every obstacle of why I won't get there. And so we need to start to train our mind for a mindset leadership shift, right? Like, how do I get myself there? And how do I get the beliefs inside of me to be who I need to be, to create the identity of who I need to be?
Welcome to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinal, and this is a space where bold moves meet inspired action. Join us as we dive into stories, strategies, and mindset of those who are building their dreams, creating impactful communities, and redefining success on their terms. Whether you're looking for practical business tips, a boost of inspiration, or a community that gets your vision, you are in the right place. Get ready to elevate your journey and embrace what it means to be a bold founder. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinal, and today we have an incredible conversation lined up for you. If you've ever felt like something is holding you back or you're stepping up to your next level of success in your business, then this episode is for you. I am joined by Nicole Cowley, an empowerment coach who helps ambitious women rebuild their confidence, reclaim their strength, and create lives of purpose and self-love. Nicole has a unique way of guiding entrepreneurs to break through their limitations, get clear on their vision, and step into the identity that they need to achieve their biggest goals. I can personally say that Nicole has made a really huge impact on my journey, helping me get clear on my vision, identity, and what was holding me back, and help me push through barriers that were standing in my way. So today I am really excited to dive into mindset, vision, the holistic approach to success that can transform not only your business, but your entire life. So Nicole, let's get started. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I am so excited, and thank you for such a beautiful introduction. Thank you. I am just so honored that I get to be here today. So thank you for having me.
All right, so I want to kick back to like where this all started, because some people who are listening may not know who you are and your story. So, and I feel like your story is really inspiring to a lot of people in so many different ways. And so can you just take us back to the moment that you decided to completely just like rebuild your life and how that led you to the work that you're doing today?
Sure. Thank you. It's almost 10 years now. But 10 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom to two beautiful little children my son was around 3, close to 3, and my daughter was almost 7. And from the outside, it looked like everything was perfect. We had a nice home, great family, friends, everything seemed really beautiful, but inside our 4 walls, everything was falling apart. And my husband had just decided that he no longer wanted to be married, and there was no options of renewal of that. And I was looking at a life of no income, no job, no like perspective or prospects out there of what I could do. And to say I was devastated is like, I can't even put into words how devastated I was. I remember a time in our kitchen where tears were just like streaming down my face, and I could see my 2 little ones just looking at me with their beautiful little eyes being like, what's next? And I actually had no idea. And so I really had to rebuild myself, because I was coming from a place of complete rejection and, feeling not great, but also hadn't been in the workforce for years. And so I was like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And, at the time, direct marketing was starting to become something. At that time, it was newer to a lot of people in Canada. There were some companies that had been around for years, but it was definitely a newer concept. And one of my friends who was a chiropractor, she had stepped into a direct marketing company that was selling skincare. And I was like, why is she doing this? She's a chiropractor. Why is she doing this? And I reached out to her, and she explained that this business could like take my life to the next level, and that I could still be with my kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I've been praying for an answer or somehow to have like income coming in and be able to still be with my children, because I'd been home with them the whole time. So I dove in. I didn't know much about it. I had a retail background because our family had a retail business for over 60 years in our city. So I grew up in retail, but I had been, like I said, out of the workforce forever. So I jumped in, I went in, and I loved it. And I had the most amazing women come and all help me build this business. And within a really short period of time, I built a huge team. They were sending me on trips all over the place and beautiful gifts. And I was like, oh, this is like, didn't even know this could exist. And so that was the start of me building confidence again. But what it did was it really got me talking to other women and realizing that many times when I'd have conversations about their skincare, we talked about life. And then I realized that so many women were feeling stuck. What can I do to like help them besides their skincare? What can I do to help them actually live better? And I was like wanting to do more. I was like in my heart, I knew I wanted to contribute and impact these women at a different level. And I was like, how can I get them feeling better? And I knew right away I'd been a dancer my whole life. And so I was like, I know how to get people moving and feeling better that way. So why don't I go back? So I took all my money from my skincare company and I said, why don't I go back and become a personal trainer? And so I did that. I actually worked with a client for free for a whole year just to learn it because I wanted to make sure I was really good at it. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody else right now, that that's the way you go and do it, but I did. And from that, it was amazing. I started to get clients, but every morning I was going out at 6 in the morning with my bag over my shoulder and my weights and my mat to go to people's homes. And I started getting really tired. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this for the rest of my life, going to all the homes and doing this. But the other thing that started to happen, actually, there was two things that started to happen. One was that I realized people weren't getting long-term transformation with me. They would be great when I'm with them. And like they would do really well when I'm with them. But the second our contract would end or they'd go do something else, they'd be like, Nicole, I fell off. And I'd be like, why are you falling off? Like I was trying to figure this all out. And at the same time, I was building my business and I was realizing that I wasn't where I wanted to be either. My confidence wasn't there. And I was like, I need more too. And so I went back and I became a health coach. Then I became a life coach and I got my mastery in life and things started to improve. But there was still a question of why people, like I wanted them to walk away from working with me not doubting themselves anymore and having deep transformation of who they are and what they could do. And so I kept trying to find, like literally at night, I'd stay awake at night being like, what else can I give them so that this is actually worth the value? Like when I come in, that they are living the life that they know they have on their heart. And so I started to really deep dive into neuroscience. And when I got into that, I realized that it was what was holding me back and what was holding them back was all their thoughts and who they were and their identity. And once we got a hold of that, everything changed. My business changed, their lives changed, and the results people were getting were beyond what I thought was possible. Like I had clients now that were writing books and starting companies and, having deeper relationships with their spouses. And then they were like solving things for their kids that they didn't even know were there. And it was just like and their health went to the next level because they understood that identity, who they believed they were, was what they were going to achieve. And until I understood that and understood the thoughts and the things that hold us back, I wasn't going to be able to help them. And now I had these tools. And so now I use it all of it to help incredible people, often women and many women that are, over 40 that have just like know that they have more, know that they want to do more. They've hit a place in their life that they're just like, I know I can do more in my business. I can do more in my relationships. I can do more in my health, but I just don't know how to get there. And this is what I do now, is help them actually have deep, long transformation.
Okay, I'm so happy you told this whole story, and that's what I was hoping for, because I really do think that there's so many takeaways that can come from it. One, the journey that you've come from in terms of like starting over and finding like what is your superpower and going for it. And then also the thought that you can you've designed your business, maybe even unintentionally as you built it, but you saw like a path that you would take to get to the next step. And then you would see, oh, what about if I add this on? And then you add that on, and then you add the next step on. And I just love that one, you're inspiring so many women who are potentially starting over. And even when I had to start my business over because COVID shut down event planning, like that is a very, very scary thing. And so I just love being able to share that story because I hope that it one day inspires someone else to be
Aw.
able to say, if she can do it and if Jen can do it, then I can do it too. And then it doesn't need to be perfect. It is never going to be perfect. So at least they can see the path that you're taking and where it took you. But I also really love the aspect that you're really sharing exactly how your business developed and where it is today, and how it is really this very whole approach to your, like, how you help your clients. You don't just help them in one way, you help them in many ways with the focus that they're not going to be needing you all the time. You're giving them all the skills that they need to go out and be successful and build the life of their dreams.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a journey for sure. And like you said, you start at one place and thinking this is going to be it. And then as you start to gain confidence, as you start to know your clients better, and your vision grows, like your vision just
Mm-hmm.
starts to grow, but it doesn't grow until you take action. And so once you're starting to take action, you start to see things differently. And what I feel so deeply about the work that I do with people is that we're multifaceted. Like we have many parts of us, and working just on the business is one thing, but you have a person behind that business. And to me, the person behind the business is the most important foundation to where you are actually going to be able to go. If that
Mm-hmm.
person is not feeling whole and not feeling strong and not feeling aligned and exhausted and, just not feeling their best self, it reflects deeply in their business. And so what you were sharing is that I realized this all as I went along. It wasn't like I knew it from the beginning. I didn't. I knew it as I moved along.
Yeah, and I think that's good for people to see that because they think you see someone's business and here it is and this is how, like, it's amazing, but they don't realize what took to get there. So that
Mm.
is one of my next questions is what was some of the biggest challenges you had to face to go through this transformation?
Oh my gosh, I had so many challenges. I had so many challenges. First of all, one of them was being a single mom, and I will say that that was probably my biggest challenge at the beginning because I thought, how can I do this? I'm one person. I used to always think like I wanted to be a really good mom, and then I had to take care of our house, and I never had to do all my house before by myself. And then I have a business, and how do I run my business? And all these stories came in, and I think one of my like stories that I had to get rid of is that the single mom story that I could only do so much as a single mom. And then once I changed it around as like, that isn't even a label for me. I can do anything that I want to do and see a vision for. Once I changed that around, I felt so much more powerful. I didn't look at what I can't do. Started to look for what I could do. And that was probably one of the biggest things, one of my biggest hurdles to get over, was that almost a victim place of where I was coming from. I sat in that, and then one of my stories that I had to get through was, and this was a really interesting one, was that if I started to get strong, if I started to like be independent, would anybody be there if I fell? I really felt like when I was still in my like victim mode that people were still all looking after me and people were like feeling bad for me if it didn't turn out and they were trying to help me. And I thought, wonder if I get really strong, will they still be there for me? Because one, like I may fall down and then like what will I do? And it was really funny to have that be a fear of mine of being successful because I thought if I'm successful, then I don't have any room to make mistakes. I don't have the room to do the things. But when I was in my single mom, this is hard, I gave myself lots of room to make mistakes because it was my identity. But
Yeah.
then once I started to build my identity of who I wanted to be, the woman who is going to build the business, the woman who's going to be there for her kids, the one who can really make a difference on her own, I started to think differently. And when I started to think differently, I started to act differently. And from that place, I started to build a business that I was so proud of and so excited to wake up to every day.
It's pretty amazing how our identities can shape what we can do and what we won't allow ourselves to do.
Mm.
Right? Like you're allowing that single mom identity to hold you back, even though it also gave you so much freedom, right? To go after those things. But it's amazing when you look at our identities and how that changes what we're capable of doing.
Yeah, I truly believe identity is everything. I had a coach that used to always say, you never can outperform your identity. And I believe that one so deeply because everybody I work with, whatever you believe, like whoever you believe you
Mm.
are, will be the results you get. And lots of our beliefs are great that have gotten us to where we need to be today and, have been able to create so many beautiful things in our life. But when we have a dream on our heart of something that we've never done before, something that's even like greater than we thought was possible, we need to have an identity to match that dream because that dream has an identity attached to it. It has a certain person that shows up for it every day. It has a certain mindset. It has a certain routines, habits they have, certain ways they see themselves in the world. And without that, it's really hard to create it. So that's what I love doing is helping people step into the identity they need to match their dream so that their dream becomes their reality. And that often is something that they feel blocked on. And it's only because of what they believe they can do. It's only
Yeah.
because of that. And so it's a beautiful thing.
All right. So then I want to talk a little bit about that dream and that vision. So, what do people have to like? Why do you believe that having a clear vision is the foundation of success for
Oh my God.
people and also entrepreneurs?
I'm so glad you asked this because I was working out this morning and I was thinking of this today actually, that you need two visions. You need one for your life and one for your business. But they're always tied together. They're always tied together, right?
For
But I
sure.
but I believe so much that our vision is our roadmap. It's the thing that helps us pull us forward every day. So if you were, an example, if you were wanting to go on a trip from where we are today to, let's say, Hawaii, you need a roadmap. You need a map to get there. You need directions. And without directions, we wouldn't get there. We just don't have some way to get there. And so, what happens for a lot of people at a certain point in life is that they wake up every day, they do the same thing over and over every single day, hoping for different results, and they're not getting it, and they can't figure out why. And so many women that I've talked to have not actually taken the time to build a vision because they haven't even taken the time to ask what it is they want. And it's because they have spent so many years taking care of everybody else. They went to school, they got their degrees, they, got their jobs, maybe got married, had their children, and they got in this routine of what life should be and just started nurturing everyone and everything around them. And then they get to a point where their kids are starting maybe to get a little bit older and not needing them quite as much and they start to like question their life. They're like, what am I doing? Am I loving what I'm doing? All these kind of things start to all come up. And what derails most of them is the fact that they've never sat down and asked what they want and built out a vision for what it's going to look like. Because without a vision, we just get really lost. Just like that trip I was talking about, we get lost. And so I believe you need a vision for the way you want to live your life, like your personal life, how you want to, the routines you want, the trips you want, the relationships you want. But I think you also need a vision in your business of where it is going to go so that every day when you're showing up in your business, you're taking the steps that are sometimes uncomfortable. So this vision helps you do those, right? The vision is like, well, if I want to get here, I have to do this. And so it helps you actually have a plan every day to show up, both personally and within your business. And I believe a vision is like essential. I really actually believe it's essential. It'll help you make every decision. It'll help you step through fire when you're scared to step through fire. It'll help you really, step into your full potential.
Okay, I really love this one because I was one of the women that I've worked with you, and you were
Mhm.
like, "Well, let's talk about your vision," and I'm like, "I don't know, like, I don't want to put it on paper. It scares me to narrow it down and focus." That was one of my struggles that I had is I didn't really want to I was very resistant to doing it because I
Mhm.
didn't want to pinpoint everything. But you're right. Once you do start to create a vision and an idea of what you want for yourself, it doesn't need to be set in stone. It can shift as it does every year when you do your yearly resolution, or every 6 months or every 3 months. Like, your vision can shift as you shift and grow and opportunities come your way. So that kind of like took away my fear of pinpointing exactly what had to happen, because as we know, nothing works out like that. But I also really liked it because, like you said, it is your roadmap. It is, if I want to be here in the future, like in this point in the future, what do I need to do to get there? And who do I need to be to get there? It really starts getting you to look a little bit more big picture, and then also take steps towards it. And sometimes they're scary, sometimes they're baby steps, but at least they're steps.
Yeah, there's steps. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you brought up a really good point. And, I think we're scared to write a vision lots of times from
Mm-hmm.
a place of, will I fail? So if I put this out there and I actually like put this grand vision out there and it doesn't work, then how scary is that for me? Like I could fail. But I think the true failure is not putting the vision out and doing it, because that's like not even trying to get there, right? Not even
Yeah.
seeing at what is possible. And so I think it is so important to have something that pulls your heart, that gets you excited. So I think the other part about a vision and stepping into it is like allowing yourself to want something, allowing yourself to desire something and being able to go after it. I think all of us, when we have a vision, we feel purpose. We feel excited
Mm-hmm.
about a day. We feel like we have something to move towards. We feel like we're impacting the world. We're making a difference for our family. We're doing all of these things. And without a vision, it's really hard to feel the impact. It's really hard. You'll actually, without a vision, I find this quite often, without a vision, we look to others to see our value instead of seeing what it is we can do. So often we're like, how, like, what other people think of us becomes more important than who we are. And when we have a vision, we get to tap into what it is we love and move from that place instead of looking to the outside world to create our results. Does that make sense on there?
That makes sense, and it is a beautiful reminder. Like, so good to just like listen to your heart and what your heart's guiding you and how you're feeling about who you are versus outside sources, because it's very easy, especially with social media and everything, to look for outside sources for validation and likes and numbers. And if we are really clear in our hearts as to where we want to be, then that is our guiding source,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we can be very clear on that and not be derailed by the outside world.
Yeah. And I 100% like very clear, right? So when you're very clear, you're not in comparison as often. You're not sitting in that I'm not good enough. You're sitting in this is what makes me happy, my unique path that makes me happy. And we're
Mm-hmm.
all going to have different dreams and we're all going to have different wants. And and that's a beautiful thing about this is that this is unique to you, your vision. I believe from the day we were born that certain desires and gifts were placed in our heart, things that only us, our own little blueprint of who we are, can do. And so when you really tap into that and really get clear on it, you can sit in a place of watching the outside world and in admiration of others, but not in comparison as often, more in admiration of good for them. But I
Yeah.
love where I'm going. I love what I'm doing. I'm really, really proud of it. And the other thing you said in there that I really love, is that this is not something that's set in stone. It's going to move. It's a work in progress, right? Our vision is always a work in progress, because when you move and you evolve, your potential grows. And when your
Mm-hmm.
potential grows, you grow, and then it grows again and again. So we never know our true potential. We're always moving towards it. But what's beautiful is, in order to start to see into our potential, we have to move, and we have to have somewhere to move to.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the world will show you if you're heading in the right direction or if it needs to
Yeah.
you to go in a different direction. And sometimes that's even more beautiful and incredible than what we had ever imagined or envisioned for ourselves.
Oh my gosh. Isn't
But you're
that
right, you have to move to get there.
you have to move, and I think getting really in touch with your intuition, what your heart is saying, is extremely important. And I work with so many women that have a hard time making decisions because they are always thinking of others. They're always thinking of how can I help others, how can I do more for others. And so some of the things we start practicing is like even just going to the grocery store. What do I feel like having today? What do I, what even going into a clothing store, what makes me feel good instead of like asking everybody else their things because they've been really trained in many ways to ask like who am I, am I good enough, all of those things. And so we have to start like nurturing their own knowing and coming back to that. And that is that's a process in itself, right, is coming back to your own knowing. So when I ask what do you want, I've asked that on stages lots of times, and it's what triggers people, a lot of women, the most. It's just that question, because they're like, I don't know. And I haven't
Mhm.
taken the time to ask. And I'm actually scared because what does it mean if I'm not happy? What does it mean if I start to take a really good look at my life and I'm not doing all the things? Does that mean I've failed? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But without taking a look at it, we're never living fully. We're never living into all that can be, all that we can do.
Yeah.
And I believe everybody deserves that.
Well, and because we don't, if we don't take a look at it and we don't give any focus to it, it's very easy to fall into like, what do you do every day? Like, my world is my children and driving them to their school and to their hockey and their sports and volleyball and all that stuff. And then like being around with my husband and getting family time. And then there's work. But then if you go outside of those boundaries, that's when you're like, oh, I don't know. Right. And you can't expand those areas if you don't really give some thought into what you want to expand into. Do you want to expand into like focusing more on your friends? Maybe you want to have more me time, self time, playing, like for me, playing pickleball. Like, you can't expand into those areas if you don't ever give them any light to think about what you want or how they could be part of your identity.
Yeah, 100%. And I think,
Hmm.
we've got to ask ourselves the more challenging questions. And within every question, we get to know ourselves more, right? Within every
Hmm.
question we ask ourselves, we're like, ooh, and you start to figure out things about yourself. And there is so many more avenues within your life. Like you were just talking about, I have an identity as a mom, I have an identity as a wife, as a business owner, but there's so much more to you. And when you think about like all the things you want to do in this world, you have the opportunity to make the choice to look deeper, to go deeper, to do things. And I challenge almost every single person to do that because we have this one life to live. And are we doing everything to like live it the way we want to live it, to enjoy it, to have bring impact, all of those things? Are we doing all the things? And not to say that we're not enough already as we are. I believe we are just perfect, but I truly believe we were meant to grow. I believe we were meant to grow and expand and figure out what is possible for each of us.
Yeah, and I love that. Okay, so one of the things that holds a lot of entrepreneurs back, if we go back into the entrepreneur aspect
Yeah.
of things, is mindset blocks. So, what are some of the common mindset blocks that you see from
Oh,
anyone you've worked with?
yeah. I think a lot of them is, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I can't, it's a lot of I'm not enough. Like, I'm not enough is probably what I hear almost all the time. Like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not contributing enough. I don't know enough. And it's usually in comparison to others. I think what I find the hardest part as an entrepreneur is that we do so much of this work by ourselves. So we do a lot on our own. And so then we're telling ourselves a lot of stories on our own
Hmm.
that become very strong stories of what is possible. And I think, also because of social media and because there's so much out there now, you're constantly looking outside of you to know whether you're doing well in your business. Am I doing
Yeah.
well? And we need to start looking inside ourselves and looking at the stories that we've been telling ourselves for years that are not getting us to our goal. So we'll have a certain goal, a certain way we want our business to run and be. And then we have to start looking, are we being the type of person that can actually do what we need to do?
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, the not enough is probably one of the biggest ones. And then fear of failure is huge. Fear of
Hmm.
failure is huge. It comes along with fear of rejection, all of those things, right? Is like,
Yeah.
can I actually do this? Because we don't want to fail. And we have to keep coming back to what is our definition of failure. And so I walk people through a lot of these things and start to see their uniqueness, their light, there's nobody that runs their business exactly the way they do. And I think we need to get back to that reality, is that no one could replace you.
Yeah.
Like your inner person. Yes, there's some skills sometimes that other people can do, but nobody can replace the flavor of who is Jen. Nobody can
Yeah.
replace that exact way that you attract clients, the exact way that you show up in their world, the people that need you.
Yeah. And I like I was always the person who was always terrified to fail. Like, what happens if it doesn't work? And I've really come around after COVID and having the event planning industry just shut down. Like, that to me was basically failure. Like, I went from a successful business to nothing. And so that has really reframed the thought of failure being like this horrible, detrimental thing. Because yeah, did it suck? It was awful. It was terrible. But my whole life has shifted because of it into something way more beautiful that I did not know was even possible. So when I think of that fear of failure, I honestly think like, let it. It's not going to be easy, but no matter what, it's going to be uncomfortable. But every single time I look back at anything that felt like a failure or a rebuild or whatever, something more beautiful came along. And the whole journey has created who I am and where I am and like the success that I've had. I cannot recommend enough to not be afraid to fail. Not be afraid to have it blow up. Yeah, it's terrible. It's not fun to go through. And even when I was like launching this business after COVID, I was like, well, what are people gonna say? Like, she's doing another business. Like, I was like, oh, what if? But it was the best thing ever. So why not? Who cares what people say? Who cares if you have to rebuild? It may suck, but in the long run, it could potentially be the greatest thing you've ever done. So why not go after it with the possibility of failure or the possibility of success? And at least you moved and you went after it, and you're not sitting there going, should I? I don't know. Is it time? Is it perfect? No, go for it, do it, and see what comes.
I could you described that so well, and I couldn't agree with you more. Every single thing that I had looked back as at the time being a failure in like my marriage, my businesses have struggled at times. I've made some big mistakes at times for sure, and every single one of them, I have found more of who I am through them. And
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that I would not be doing what I am doing today if my marriage had been successful. I would not be doing what is on my heart. I know it. I know I would have sat in the comfort of what it was, because it was comfortable in many ways. But if I had stayed in that comfort zone, I would never have moved out and created what was on my heart. And when I wanted to go, like from the place of creating what was on my heart, I've had to grow with every single step I took, because many
Yep.
scary steps along the way, really, challenging steps. But within each one, my confidence grew, because I would move through it, and then I'd be like, oh, I can do that. And then I'd move through it, oh, I can do that. And what I do with clients all the time is I have them look back on their life of all the things that they've been able to move through. It's like a success blueprint, right? You go back
Mm-hmm.
and you look at all the things you were able to go through, and from a place of seeing it, you can do it again.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the most important things, is to really recognize that these challenges, if we didn't have any challenges, would we ever find out who we are, what is possible? Because what I do know in neuroscience is that we love comfort. The mind loves to stay comfortable. The number one job of the mind
Yep.
is to keep us safe. And so when you're staying in that comfort zone, it's beautiful in many ways, but you're not growing. And so every time I'm out of it, I'm growing. Sometimes I'm growing too fast. And I'm like,
Yeah.
too many challenges, too many things coming at me, right? Too
Yeah.
many. But those are moments where you do have to take a step back, and you have to breathe, and you have to get your nervous system regulated, and all of those things. Those are really important moments. But I believe everything you just said is that every single thing, like you doing this podcast and where you are now in your business and everything, would never have been here without every single challenge. Everything that we may have deemed as being a failure was only something to help us grow.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one thing I really like about this podcast is when you have so many different women entrepreneurs who come on and share their story. There's so many chances to share, like the shifts and the pivots and the journeys and the struggles and the failures, but also the successes. Like I love seeing where people have come from and where they are now, but also like how did they get there? Because all we
Mm-hmm.
see on social is where they are and we're just in awe, but it's never this easy path, right? And so by showing so many entrepreneurs on this podcast, it's just so much inspiration for the women listening to be like, I can do that. I understand her language and I can see how she did it. So I'm going to now have the courage to go and do it too.
Yes, again, beautiful, beautiful. I agree so much that when we're looking on the outside, we often think that like so many stories, like, that maybe they were given this or they were been able to just like rise so fast. They're the lucky ones. They're all the things. But I love learning more about every single woman's path because what I do know is that it has not been a straight line and that there's been many pivots along the way and those pivots and your challenges and all the stories that have held you back is often somebody's success blueprint, like something for them to go
Yeah.
forward with, right? And every time I listen to somebody's, what they had to do or the thing they had to move through, I feel, first of all, more like that there's more of a chance. There's more of a chance of being
Hmm.
able to move
Yep.
through. And also, I feel more like I belong. And I think that's the thing. Like, you don't see your troubles being only uniquely to you. You're like, oh, other people had this too, and other people felt this, but still got there. And so I think these stories that you're sharing here are life changing because I do know that we have the potential to do so much, and other women being the example through vulnerability, through sharing things that aren't always easy to share,
Yeah.
that we connect. It's through the messy, like the deepest things that we often find our connection versus the success out there and the trophies and the things, whatever it
Yeah.
is that you call it. I think it's in the challenges in the mess that we find our success actually.
Yes. Yeah, I love it so much. Okay, what can somebody who is going for their big dreams and scary goals, how can we reframe these challenges and shift it to a more confident and empowered mindset so that we can go after them?
Yeah, I have something that I always walk people through. And it's like kind of a framework, but it helps them get to the next place. And it's a good checklist to see if you have this in your life, because if you have this in your life, I guarantee that you will get moving to where you need to be. So number one, I always say is accountability. Do you have somebody like a mentor, a coach, a good friend,
Hmm.
somebody in your life that's going to help you do the things you need to do to get to where you want to be. So before that, we talked about vision. So I always think we need that vision first. That's
Yes.
foundational, right? Vision. But
Yeah.
once we have a bit of a vision, we want to start to have somebody that's going to hold us accountable. So we're very good at being accountable to others, not always so good at being accountable to us, right? And so when we
Yes.
have when we have somebody else in our life, we're like, okay, help me get through this. Help me walk shoulder to shoulder with me. I need somebody to be there on my toughest days when I don't want to get out of bed or I'm scared or like I've made a mistake and I need you to help me see it differently or whatever it is. I need that help. So accountability first. Then I believe immerse yourself in a community of people that are like on the rise with you. So people that are going to show you that that you are amazing just with them. They have the same mindset. They're moving in that same direction. They're going to pick you up when you fall down. But I really believe, and I know this even from neuroscience, is that the more you're around messages of positivity, of possibility, of potential, you start to believe the exact same thing. And so you start to see the world through a new lens when you're with the right people. But I know that when you have a dream on your heart, one of the fastest ways for it to crumble is to ask people who do not see your vision. When they do not see it, you like it can like be their words can be like cutting and it can just take you right down. So you need to surround yourself with people who believe in your vision too, that believe in you. And so that's the next one. So first is accountability, then community. Then I believe in that you need mindset work, motivation and mindset work. So when we are in a business or in life period, we've had many stories that have got us to where we are. And some of the stories, like I talked about at the beginning, are so beautiful. And we are so lucky to have them because they've created a lot of goodness in our life. But when we have dreams on our heart that are something that we've never done before, we're going to have a lot of stories of why it can't happen. And in fact, when I get people to write their vision out and we start to do it, the first thing that comes up is all the obstacles, every obstacle of why I won't get there. We need to start to train our mind for a mindset leadership shift, right? Like, how do I get myself there? And how do I get the beliefs inside of me to be who I need to be, to create the identity of who I need to be? And so what I find always is that there's many ways to do that. So, I do hypnosis with a lot of people. So that really helps them like start to envision that person and hear the messages over and over again so that when they are showing up in their everyday life, they start to catch the stories way quicker of what they've been telling themselves that don't serve them. And they start to be like, no, I need to say this every day, or I need to feel this every day, or I need to see it through. This is the type of person I am. And so we do it through hypnosis, but we do it through like repetition and affirmations. We read our vision over and over again. We start taking, now this is the last one, it's taking action. So we start taking action on the mindset that we've now created. So we've created a mindset that matches the vision. So we've started to create the affirmations. We've started to create the identity. I'm starting to dress the part. I'm starting to act like be the person, but now I need to actually go and make the I have to have the tough conversations. I need to start showing up online. I need to, if I'm in a product-based business, I need to start ordering my products. I need to do the things that the person who is running the business that I would love, the person that I know could run this business, I need to be that person.
Yeah.
And so with all of those things in check, I promise, like this is just what happens is that you start to do the things you need to do. But all those parts are super important. And so we want to make sure we're having aspects of it all. And, and then the last thing I want to say, so those are really essential. But the last thing I want to say, and this is something that I always bring in with all of my clients, is that your health also matters. So your energy within your body. So I want you to think that when you are super tired and you are not feeling well, you're going to have really, really negative thoughts often, like thoughts that are tired, thoughts that aren't expansive, thoughts that don't feel good. And so in order to take action, our last one we were just talking about, in order to take the action that we want to do, we need to feel good. Our body needs to be alive. Our body needs to have the energy. So I believe so wholeheartedly that we need to be training the mind, the body, and the soul. We need to work it all together to create this amazing business. Because when you have the energy, when you feel strong within your body and you feel strong within your mind, you can absolutely achieve anything. And I don't believe that just one area is going to change it all. I believe holistically, we need to treat you like the whole package,
Yeah.
because that is what if I was to give advice to anybody, I'd be like, those are the things that will get you where you need to be.
Yeah, and I really, really like this because I feel like I'm in the energy side of things right now where I've pushed for so long, so hard, and like I had the energy, and now I've hit the point where that energy is depleting a little bit, and you're like, okay, if the energy isn't there, how are you going to keep doing all the things? Or maybe things need to shift. And so I love how you're thinking whole package when it comes to everything from who you're surrounding yourself with to the words you're saying to yourself. That was another thing that you and I worked on when we worked together that was really, really powerful to see what your vision is, but are you speaking to yourself in a way that aligns with your vision and your
Mhm.
goals and seeing yourself as that person? So constantly having that repetition of your affirmations and even the hypnosis, that doing that daily, that was so wildly impactful
Mhm.
to helping grow. So like everything, all of it was so, you need to have everything in together for it to actually have a full impact and growth on your business, as you as a person, you with your family, you just mentally.
I think when you look at our businesses, there's a human behind every single like
Mhm.
owner, right? There's a person that has to go home
Yeah.
to maybe things that are challenging or, like other things besides their business. And so in order to really show up and be the leader you want to be in your business and to, take your business to the next level, you've got to be nurturing yourself. You've got to be really taking care of yourself. What are the thoughts I'm thinking? How am I showing up physically for my body every day? Am I nurturing my body? Am I nurturing my mind? Am I putting good food into my body? What routines do I have? And then how am I showing up? Like, how am I actually showing up? And the other thing when you were talking that came up for me is with each action that we do, and when we're working on our mind and we're working on our body, we need to be in celebration of it too, because it takes effort to do these things. It takes effort to work on your mindset. It takes effort to work on your body. It takes an effort to show up, right? And to live a life more expansive than where you've been. It takes courage. It takes effort. And so I really believe that we need to really show up, like to celebrate ourselves, like
Mhm.
be every day saying, okay, today I did something different with my mindset today. I was kind to myself in this situation, or I talked myself through it. Or this morning I woke up and I moved for 10 minutes before I even started my day. And I'm so proud of myself. I could have stayed in bed. I could have stayed
Yeah.
in bed, but I had this vision of how I want to show up. And so there comes the vision again, the vision of like,
Yeah.
who do I need to be? Who do I need to be? And what do I need in place to be that person? And it isn't just one thing. It's like nurturing you as this beautiful soul here, meant to create and do awesome things.
I agree like 100%. And it's actually like, it's easier said than done, I will say. So that's one of the questions I have for you is like, how do we marry our business growth and our personal life? Because they are so deeply connected, but at the same time, find balance within them. Because balance is the key word. It's such a hard thing in today's world, but really, we can't have one without the other. So, how
Yeah.
are we supporting both?
Yeah. I think balance is like a tough word because I don't think we're ever in balance. I think, we're usually wavering on one side or the other. But I think what's really important is like asking ourselves on a regular basis, how do I feel? So, how do I feel? And if I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling whatever, is to say, what have I stopped doing that used to make me feel so good? What is the thing that I've like let go of that used to be part of what I did that helped me bring that balance in place? And then I have to be like, okay, I got to bring this back. I've gone way too far, maybe one way, and now I've got to bring myself back. So I think probably the most important question always is, how do I feel? How am I feeling? And then what do I want more of? And how can I bring that back in? Right?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe we're always going to be in balance, because when we're growing, we're always like pushing ourselves a little bit more. But we do have the ability to ask ourselves every single day how I'm feeling. And
Yeah.
then actually just even placing your hand on your heart and saying, what do I need? What do I need? And maybe it's that walk, or maybe it's I need to go out with my girlfriends, or I need to, or
Yeah.
I need to like take a weekend off, or I need to like start moving again because I've been just giving to everybody else and I'm so tired. So I
Yeah.
think it's like, sitting in that feeling, like what is it right now? Do I feel good? And if I'm feeling good, awesome. If I'm feeling not so great, what do I need?
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing because we can get so busy in our businesses that we forget to take care of ourselves.
Mm,
And if we don't take care of ourselves, then we're never going to grow in our businesses. We're never going to attract anything because we are in this whirlwind of like exhaustion or uncomfortability or whatever it happens to be that's holding you back. But I think if you just sit and pause and say, what do I need right now? And really listen and then
Hmm.
give yourself that. I mean, it could be something as silly as like, I just need to go for a drink with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just, you just need to have some time sometimes. And by asking yourself, what do you need? It just opens up the options for you and for your body to be like, you need this. You need to sleep. You need to sit on the couch and just chill. You
Yeah.
need to go read a book and
Yeah.
like not think,
Yeah.
um, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I agree. Like asking ourselves that question is a really, and then listening to it. So we can
Mhm.
ask ourselves that question, right? And then we just move right past and be like, well, that's impossible. I can't do
Yeah.
that. Or we can actually be like, okay, I'm going to be the leader in my life. I'm going to be the CEO of my life, not my business right now, of my life. And if I'm a CEO of my life, I'm going to look at what our company needs. What
Yeah.
does my company, me, need? And the other thing when you were speaking, Jen, that came up for me is one thing that when I get into that, like, go, 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 and like, I have to go, which gets so exhausting. I'm usually coming from a place of lack. It's usually from a place of fear, like usually from a place of like, I have to create or I'm going to, like, it's just
Yeah.
not coming. And so, one thing that's really helped me is to sit in like gratitude for everything that I already have, like all the things that I've already built, all the people that are already in my life, all the impact I'm already making, all the stuff. Because when I really recognize that, I feel fuller again. And then I
Yeah.
move from a different place. I don't move from lack, I'm moving from a place of, wow, I have so much already. So let's go slower. Let's
Yeah.
slow it down. Let's slow it down and realize that I have so much. I have so much.
Oh, I
And that
love
always
this.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, this is so incredible because we are, as entrepreneurs, I feel like you're always in go, go, go mode. And there is a point where you have to say, nope, I'm going to slow it down. And I love the idea of thinking more in terms of gratitude because you're right. When you're pushing for a deadline, you're pushing for something sales target wise. And so just taking a moment to like slow it down and say, no, I'm okay with this. And I'm going to sit in gratitude and enjoy where I'm at and celebrate my successes because that's where your energy and your passion and your excitement and how you magnetize people to you, that's where it comes from. It's not from the go and the hustle.
It's so true. And I even had I remember one of my coaches used to say, she's like, just open up your testimonials and just start reading them and start
Mm-hmm.
being like blessing those people and thanking them and knowing they were part of your journey and then just picturing what they're doing in the world now and how much of a difference that has made maybe in their lives. Like you don't have to necessarily know it, but you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
And just really being in the gratitude for all that you already have, because usually it's so much more than we give ourselves credit for or that we've even seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what are some non negotiables that you have for maintaining energy, passion, and motivation when you are scaling your business?
Non-negotiable for sure is taking care of my body. That is non-negotiable, because I know if I don't have the energy, if I am not feeling strong and I'm not like eating well and I'm not sleeping and I'm not doing the things, I'm not going to show up, and
Yeah.
I won't be able to do those things. So that one has been something that like, and I also know it will change my state really fast. So when I'm getting in a place of like worry or stress, the second I move my body, the second I do things, I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. It's actually not that
Yeah.
bad. I see it differently. I just do. And I also, from there, also get inspired. So I'm always like, whoa, I get inspired.
Yeah.
The other thing is that's non negotiable for me is really like always seeing what like coming from a place of service. So how can I show up in the best way for the people who are with me right now and my future people that will be with me? So that for me is that's become like part of my every when I post, when I do my emails, when I do all the things, I try to take me out now. So I try to take my sense of my ego out of there,
Yeah.
and then I try to be like, okay, what have I learned that could help others? And then what can I listen to probably most importantly in others that they are needing right now, and how can I show up better to serve them? So like I think that has been huge, is really working on my listening skills, like really trying to sit in what they are telling me, and then looking inside with my resources, what can I do to make it better? What can I do to help them move through? And so those two things I think have become like really, really important for me. And they're two things I never want to lose.
Yeah. That listening skills is really interesting because as like I love the strategy of business and creation and stuff like that, and that is not something that I implement in. Like yes, it is like in the sense that you want to know what like the pain points are and
Yeah.
that, but like really listening to what people are saying and then showing your support versus like strategy, showing how you can help them is so like empowering and from a positive place. Like it feels good.
Thanks. That one has become a really important thing for me because I'm grateful for the amount of people that will sign up for discussions with me. I have complimentary, breakthrough sessions with people, and they're like some of my very favorite conversations in the whole world because I learn about these amazing women that come into my life. And when I sit and I listen, I ask them lots of questions, but if I can sit and just listen, I can hear the things that they need the most right now. They need the most.
Yeah.
And from each conversation, those conversations are probably some of the most abundant things in my life, like the willingness for them to share their deepest worries, their greatest struggles, the if I can open up a container and help them feel safe for that, where they can actually share from their heart, then I can think of ways to move them through it. And
Mhm.
every time they share this, I get to know them better. I get to know what they need. And then I can build my company around it.
Yeah.
Instead of just creating from here, thinking what they need, I actually get to know them intimately and hopefully, with what I have, build what they need to help them move through faster, better, quicker, and just be able to live the lives that they so rightfully deserve to live.
Yeah, I love that. Love it. Okay, so you've been doing a lot of master classes lately. Do you want to
Mm,
tell us a little bit about those and how those have been
yeah.
going?
Yeah, so I've been really on a mission to, I think since November, November or December, I've been trying to do a master class a month. And I think in December I even did two. And and why I'm doing this, I will tell you, when I went through my struggles 9 or 10 years ago, every single podcast like this, YouTube video, every person that put themselves out there to help people helped me. And I needed to be inundated with their messages because my messages in my head of what was possible for me were so not positive and they were so negative, and I could feel that story running over and over. But what I knew and what I remember somebody saying on one of them was one of the podcasts, they're like, surround yourself with positive messages nonstop. Like, make sure you're just hearing what is possible as much as you can, and then you will start to act from that place. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to listen to this as much as I can. And so I had incredible, not only podcasts, YouTube, I had incredible coaches that came in my life that really, started to help me see the way I was thinking and the way I could think differently. And so these master classes for me is a time for us to get together once a month and see what is possible. I want to help people have shifts on, what they think is their potential and what they think they can do. And I want them to really see life through a new lens. And just in those like 90 minutes, be able to walk away with a new plan, a new way of doing things. And in my master classes, they're not just like come and listen, they're come and do. I give them like workbooks and we start to work from it so that when they walk away, if they even implemented one thing that we talked about that day, their life would change. So wouldn't it be
Yeah.
better just to show up and do these things? So it's just my goal. I want to meet as many people as possible. I want to help as many women as possible feel better in their lives, because this is what I do know. in my heart right now, our world is a little bit challenging right now. There's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot of fear. And we look to the outside sometimes of like feeling like, how can we control any of this? Like it's all outside there. But what I do believe is if we can look inward and we start to work on our insides and work on who we are and what is possible and see life through a different lens, we can be the leaders in our home, which will then lead into our business, because then we'll be the leaders in our home, then we're leaders in our business, which means that all the people that we get to impact get to see things differently. And when they start to see things differently, they're going to impact others. And it's just going to be this
Yeah.
ripple effect.
Yeah.
And so, why can't we start looking at what is possible from inside instead of the outside? And that is what I want to bring into this community, your possibility, and just knowing that you, one person, can make a huge difference in this world right now. One person. I think about like, even if you were at the grocery store today and you felt more empowered from going to a masterclass, listening to a podcast, a book, and one woman there today was struggling to pay a bill and you helped her and you paid something off for them because you had this mindset of I make a difference in this world. Can you imagine what she's going to do, and then the next person's going to do, and the next person? It's
Yeah.
just that simple. Yet sometimes we think it's so hard. And I think that's where I'm really coming from these days.
Nicole, you have such a like incredible heart. I just adore you so much, and I'm so glad you got to share this message with us because I think it's really, really powerful. And you're right, we get so caught up in everything that we're doing that sometimes we don't think about the impact that we can have on anyone who's listening, or they see your Instagram story, or they read your email, or they just see you in a grocery store. Like, we can have so much impact on the people around us, and then it does create such a huge ripple effect by the simplest thing.
Simplest thing.
My last question for you is, what is the last piece of advice that you would give to our listeners who are listening today?
Oh, that's a good question. Last piece of advice. You know what? I think what I would love is to each person, do not shut down your possibility of what can happen in your life at any stage, any age, anything. I want you to always know that whatever you decide to believe in yourself, you can do. And so, no matter the circumstance that you're in right now, no matter whatever life is throwing at you right now, I want you to leave today and be like, what can I do? Instead of what can't I do? With what I have right now, what's the smallest thing I can do? Because just that one thing that you start to do today will start to create a ripple effect in your life, and will start to create the confidence you need to do the things that you would love on your heart, because you have everything in you today. Everything is there. You don't need to look outside of yourself to find any of it. It is all here. But
Yeah.
just do one thing today for yourself, and be in what can I do and not instead of what I can't.
This was the best conversation ever. Like, I'm just so in awe of everything we've discussed and where this is going to leave the listeners, like after they listen to it, and even as they listen throughout it. I think it's going to be so incredibly impactful for our audience. And so I'm so thankful you came on today and are sharing your heart and your business and your insights and all the things. I just adore you so much, and I'm so thankful for you.
Well, I adore you, and I want to celebrate you for putting this out there in the world. It takes so much courage to do what you do. And I've been so honored to walk side by side with you on this journey in many ways, and to know you as a friend, and I admire you deeply. I admire you deeply and all the things you're doing in this world. So thank you for being you, and stepping into the courage to be bold and to put yourself out there, because this is how the world changes, is doing exactly what you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, wasn't that conversation so incredible and powerful? I am really, really happy that Nicole got to join us. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the key takeaways that I had from today, because there were so many. I swear I'm missing a ton. So make sure you listen to the episode maybe even a couple times, because it's that good. But I have 4 right now. So 4 key takeaways that I really loved from this was the journey that she's gone through and that so many entrepreneurs go through. We always often think that our entrepreneurship journey should be from A to Z and nice and simple, but really it goes all over the map. And so I want you to realize that when you're taking this path of entrepreneurship, that there is going to be ups and downs and that things will guide you in the direction you're supposed to go, but never think of anything as failure because it honestly is just a little bit of a shift or pivot in a different direction. And that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is sometimes we don't see what our potential is or what the impact is or how our business could turn and shift and grow. And so I loved Nicole sharing her journey of how she rebuilt her business on her own terms. But I want you to start looking at your own journey, people around you, their journeys, and seeing that it isn't this beautiful, easy peasy like step from A to Z. Everybody has shifts and pivots and struggles and failures and wins and successes. And that is what makes us who we are. It makes us stronger. It makes us more confident in ourselves. It allows us to see our superpowers and to see how we can help our audience and our community. And so everyone's journey is really incredible and impactful. And it's probably one of my favorite things about this podcast is sharing all the journeys along the way so that we can all see and learn from each other, but also celebrate each other and their wins and our hardships. I think it's really incredible to see that aspect. Another part of the key takeaways that I wanted to focus on was the vision. It is so easy for us to not put any time into our vision because it can feel like, for me, it felt like it was a hard thing to like put a pin in exactly what I wanted because I didn't want to be stuck with that exact vision. That's not how visions work. And it's silly to actually think of it and say that that's how I felt. But it's true. Like, let's put a vision together for what we want in our life and where we want to go, but know that this is going to shift just like our journey is. And so think about what you want in your business, what you want in your life, what you want in your personal life, and how can we get there? Because by having that vision, it just gives us stepping stones, which leads me into my key takeaway number 3, which is all about the mindset shifts that we need to take in order to get towards those visions and our goals. So I want you to think about what Nicole said by bringing on mentors and coaches and surrounding yourself with really incredible people in business. Because when we surround ourselves with incredible people, we just feel inspired by them and encouraged by them. And that has way more impact in our business and our growth than us doing it on our own. And so that one is really huge. But also I want you to think about what helped me with when I worked with Nicole also was really thinking about those affirmations and seeing yourself in that future vision and who is that person? How do they act? What do they look like? How do they dress? How do they speak to themselves? How does their day of work go? Are they feeling lazy? Are they feeling energized? Are they taking care of themselves? So really looking at who that future person is and becoming them now and believing that we have that within us because it makes a huge impact in how fast we're able to get to where our goals are, in how confident we are, in how we take baby steps or larger steps or no steps at all. And so really thinking about how you're speaking to yourself, the words you're saying to yourself, and how you are believing in yourself will have a huge shift in your mindset and how you're getting to that vision and your whole journey. It also will bleed into like your personal life and the things you do with your family, the things you do for yourself. If you give yourself self-care, if you make time for your friends, it goes into every single aspect of our life. So I really want you to think about your mindset and how you are nurturing that to be successful, but also to align with your goals and your dreams. And then finally, the last one that I really loved and was not expecting was gratitude. Instead of like pushing ourselves so hard to get to the next thing and to chase, I'm definitely a person who chases the next thing constantly, and you're always like feeling in hustle mode. But that does come from a little bit of a lack. Like you're always pushing the envelope and it's because you want to get to the next place, or maybe you're a little bit nervous about the next step or whatever it is. But if we come from a place of gratitude and we really celebrate ourselves and what we've done and what we've accomplished, but also in gratitude of our community and how they have come in and supported us in our chasing of our dreams, and be thankful that they are there, that they are cheering you on, but also that you're able to give them the support that they need. So really thinking gratitude versus I have to do this, I have to do that. even just me saying, I have to do this, I have to do that, feels a little bit more like pressurized than saying, I get to do this because my community really needs this and I know that this is going to help them. It takes the weight off. It feels really energetic and alive. And so I loved this conversation today because like those key takeaways are essential in so many parts of our business and in our growth and where we're going to go. And I just loved the conversation with Nicole on her journey and sharing that with you because everybody can take something from today's podcast and see how it affects their lives and their businesses. And just one little thing could make a big difference. I mean, there was a lot shared, so you could implement a lot of things. But if you could just take one thing and implement it, I would love to see the results you get from it because everything that was shared today was powerful and magical. So I would love for you to do that and then tell me about it because I want to hear about it. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was so powerful and incredible. And I'm so thankful for Nicole for joining us. And thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you. If today's conversation resonated with you, then you need to join us at the Be Bold Experience on October 7th. This is a one-day conference that is designed to help women in business take bold action, create clear strategies, and step into their full potential. With powerful speakers, networking opportunities, and an inspiring atmosphere at the Whitewood Barn, this is your chance to map out your 2026 and beyond. Grab your ticket now and get ready to take your business to the next level. Oh, and let's also add in our mindset because we know from today's episode how powerful that is. Thanks for tuning in to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. And if you liked this episode, be sure to share it and tag us, and we will see you next time.